But we're looking for a solution that is going to be better for most people. I'm generally very happy with the aesthetic of it, the function of it. It seems to line up really well with the bar and our MOLLE panels, so it's going to make installation very easy. So one of the products that is commonly requested from BuiltRight customers, that is something that we don't have an answer for yet, is a way to mount recovery boards, or in this case MaxTrax brand traction boards, to our BuiltRight panels or to our Bulkhead Accessory Rail. The answer for the BuiltRight panels is it's a bit of a challenge because these boards typically won't fit between the wheel well and the bed rail, so there's not a great way to mount those, especially if you have a tonneau cover. But the Bulkhead Accessory Rail, we call it the bar, against the bulkhead of the truck is a perfect place to mount these, except that there aren't in existence yet a really great mount that helps you mount the recovery boards to the bar or to the MOLLE panels on there. There are ways to do it. We have customers, I've done it myself using bungee cords, but we want to find a really great solution that integrates perfectly with either our MOLLE panels, depending on application, or the engineering extrusion that we use for the Bulkhead Accessory Rail. So let's take a closer look at that. All right, so the core of mounting a set of traction boards or recovery boards to anything is that oftentimes they have holes in them and they'll use a pin. This happens to be the configuration that MaxTrax uses. It's a stainless pin with some plastic overmold on it, and you basically flip these over to lock the pads in place. That's great if you have MaxTrax and you use their mount. You can bolt this mount to our extrusion here. You've got a couple of possible locations to do that. But we're looking for a solution that is going to be better for most people. So essentially what I'd like to design is a replacement for this MaxTrax mount that could either use the MaxTrax pins, or you can use bolts or pins with a kind of a cotter pin in it as a more economical solution, or if your pads don't fit with these MaxTrax mounts. So basically we want a way that uses this mount or something more universal. The MaxTrax mount here has a specific spacing on these pins that fits their boards perfectly, which is awesome. But we'd like some spacing options in between this, which is about 10.5 inches, down to like 5 inches, because some of the boards that you guys are buying online have a narrower pattern there. And then we also want some more flexibility in here to allow us to mount anywhere along this range, because depending on the truck, this Bulkhead Accessory Rail can be higher or lower against the bulkhead, so we need some adjustability there. Finally, we want to make sure that we can be mounting this to our MOLLE panels, so whether it fits in your truck or not, just a nice clean way for the mounting features, the holes and slots in this, to be interfacing with the MOLLE panel regardless of where that panel is. So I like the construction of this, the glass fiber reinforced injection molded part. It's a good way to do this. So I'm going to kind of take some inspiration from this, but make it work for our application. So let's hit the computer. All right, so my starting point was to quickly model that pin, the MaxTrax brand pin. We're not going to require it, but we certainly do want to accommodate it. It's a nice part, especially if you're using the MaxTrax board. So I have this pin modeled there pretty closely. Then I came over here and started sketching out what I think our MaxTrax mount would look like. We have these two large slots here that would accommodate the pin for the traction boards or the recovery boards. If you're using the MaxTrax pins, you're close to the outside here. If you're using some of the other brands, you might be as close as 5 inches or 5.5 inches center to center. So these slots are going to accommodate that. And then we added 4 mounting slots here, which would be to mount this piece to whatever it is you're attaching it to. You'd have some adjustability up and down to accommodate that bar being in a different spot on the bulkhead depending on your truck. And then if you're on a MOLLE panel, the same would apply. So the next thing I did was cut these reliefs in here so that the hardware you're using to mount this to whatever it is recessed, and also so you're not bolting through like a 1/2 inch of plastic here. Then we put this ring. This mimics what MaxTrax has a little bit, which kind of provides a flush mount surface for their pin. So I'm mimicking that so that's nicely integrated. We added some chamfers and fillets to kind of start making it look a little bit nicer. A relief here in the center, some more chamfers and fillets. If this is an injection molded part, it has to have a uniform wall thickness or close to it all the way across the part. So you can't just make this solid plastic. So we'll go in here starting with this kind of as a baseline, We'll add some ribs and such to make it like a robust part from an engineering standpoint. But I'm going to suppress that now because we don't need to do that for the sake of kind of prototyping and stuff. You see I do have slots on the back side here. These are going to accept either the nut from the MaxTrax mount or a 10mm bolt head. So we can push a bolt up through the back of this to act as the stud of the mount. That'll probably be hardware that we include with these mounts, and then the MaxTrax pins would be like an upgrade that you could buy separately or from us. Again, this is essentially a rough draft. It looks kind of finished, but it's really not. So we're going to go ahead and I'll export an STL here. We'll bring it into our Bamboo, the printer software for our new printer, and we'll get a prototype going. So really quickly, so you can visualize the assembly and it on the bar. This is the extrusion profile for the bar. This mount shows the MaxTrax pins here, as well as the hardware, kind of the economy option here. This will have some sort of a nut on the top of it, maybe a thumb screw knob kind of deal. You could really mount anywhere from like here, catching here and here, down to the same on the bottom. So a lot of flexibility. You could spin it, twist it, pop it, whatever. This is definitely close enough that we can 3D print it and test it out. All right, so this is our Revision A first 3D printed prototype off the printer. I've got the two MaxTrax mounting pins here. I'm waiting for hardware to show up, get the exact right M10 stuff here. This turned out really nice. A couple of small changes. I've got another one printing right now that'll be this one's counterpart. But I did make a few small changes. So this is designed to be an injection molded part, so everything needs to have draft, which means like when we pull it out of the tool, there can't be overhangs that would keep it from coming out. You also want a degree or a few degrees, depending on the depth of the cavity, of draft on these walls. So I added draft here and here, but I did it in kind of a sloppy way so that this slot got narrower as we went down, and the result is that this nut is sort of pinched in here. And if I didn't change that, I'd be concerned that as we tighten this, it's going to damage the part. So I opened up that slot a little bit, or I redid the draft correctly there. So the other thing is also regarding this slot, sort of, is if you can see, like at a glancing angle, the end of that pin is just a little bit proud of this surface. So if we were to mount something like this on something flat, like a MOLLE panel, the end of that pin may do some damage to whatever we're mounting. So all I did there was just thicken up the entire piece by about a little under 1/8 of an inch, give it some more meat. And I'm reprinting. Other than that, though, I'm generally very happy with the aesthetic of it, the function of it. It seems to line up really well with the bar and our MOLLE panels, so it's going to make installation very easy. We'll check back in once we've got the other one of these printed, and we'll get it installed on the bulkhead of my truck. Pretty good. I'm going to clean this up and we'll go put it on the truck. Just removing some of the support material here. Alright, so I've got the two MaxTrax pins installed on our prototype here. We are using MaxTrax Extreme boards, but I did kind of mock up some 10mm hardware here. It fits exactly like we anticipated it would. But I'm going to remove that so that we can get these mounted to the extrusion here and up on the bulkhead of my truck. So our Bulkhead Accessory Rails come with a baggie labeled accessory hardware. These are drop-in nuts, so you don't need to like slide them in from the end or anything. You can put them in there and they will kind of sit. They're spring-loaded. So I'm going to put 4 of those in here and then loosely get this bolted up like that. Alright, so now I've got these two kind of mocked up loosely on the extrusion here. I'm going to install the 2 brackets for the bar, and then we can drop this in place.
It's a casual install. It is a casual
Trying trying not to be in the way. All right, so with that, we've got our prototype recovery board mounts mounted to the BuiltRight Bulkhead Accessory Rail on our 2023 Raptor. It's kind of a mouthful, but this all worked out very well. There's a couple of small tweaks yet to the mount that we'll make in order to make it prepare for production. But generally, aesthetically, this is about what you're going to see. We'll probably do them in black glass fiber reinforced nylon material, but other colors are options. Would love to hear if other people are interested in stuff like that. Check back next week for more Raptor content.